Hey guys, thanks for joining me for Learn and Play Games. My name is Lance, and today we're going to take a look at Tiny Epic Zombies. This is a newer game by Gamelyn Games. It is a 1 to 5 player game that takes roughly a half an hour to an hour to play, and it is both cooperative and competitive, as the game itself includes 5 different modes of play, where you can play it completely cooperative, semi-cooperative, or completely competitive. So it's totally up to the players how you guys want to play. So in the game itself, depending upon the mode that you're playing in, some of the players or all the players will be playing survivors, and then the other player potentially will be playing a zombie, depending upon, again, the mode that you've selected. And then throughout the game, the surviving players are trying to meet different objectives before the time runs out. And then if they're playing competitively, they're going to be competing with each other and all that kind of stuff. So really depends on the mode that you guys have selected to play. So my opinions on this one, just like the other Tiny Epic games, I've really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with this one. And of course, zombies have been done quite a bit lately. So take that into account with this, but of course this is a Tiny Epic game, so one of the really cool features of it is that it includes 5 different modes of play. So no matter what kind of style your gaming group is, whether it's competitive, cooperative, or semi-cooperative, this game offers all of that, and you can play it differently in each of those modes. So some really nice features to this one, and I would definitely recommend it. And just like all the Tiny Epic games, each game plays very differently than the other ones. So just because you've played 1 or 2 of them doesn't mean that they're all the same. And that's one of the things I really like about this. Each of the games that they bring out is very unique in its own right. So the series itself is strictly by name, and every game is unique. So definitely recommend checking this one out. If you guys have not checked out any game, the Tiny Epic series yet, definitely do. And if you have, this is one that I would recommend as well to add to the series, as they use their new item meeples and all that kind of stuff. So the little guys are going to be running around with chainsaws and guns and axes and all kinds of crazy stuff as you pick up different equipment to help you along the way to meet your objectives. So of course, these are just my opinions. I'd love to hear you guys in the comments below. Have you guys played this one yet, or have you played any of the Tiny Epic games? And if so, what is your favorite? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let me know what you're playing, what you're doing, and of course, let's start a conversation about all the things games. So if you like what I do, if you like these videos, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference and helps me to continue to grow and be able to bring these videos to you guys. If you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's head to the table and I'll teach you guys how to play. The first card we're going to look at is the Courtyard. Depending upon whether you're playing a cooperative or competitive will determine which side of the Courtyard you use, as it's a double-sided card, and as you guys can see here, the other side is competitive. So the card itself is made up of a central location where the players will all start the mission, and then it also has 4 surrounding spaces. So when a player leaves to go off into one of the other zones, that is also considered a space. Anytime the players come back to the Courtyard, they'll be able to heal 2 health, and then if they have supply tokens or other tokens that drop off, they'll also do that. At the beginning of the game, when you're setting up, the barricade icon or token will be placed on the 2 spot, and you'll start off with 2 survivors in there. Now you can make the game easier by including additional ones, or harder by taking away some. And then as the barricade gets hit, when it hits 0, you'll remove one of those survivors and boost it back up to 2. Each card is considered a store, and each store is broken down into 3 separate rooms in differing configurations. Now, each store is also going to have a main entrance, which will have one of 4 different icons on it, and it will have a number of other pieces of information on it. Some stores are going to have different areas that will have abilities or actions the players can perform, and each store is also going to have a number of different objective points on it as well. So these dark shaded areas will be used for different objectives as they come up. You're also going to have numbers in each of the rooms that are going to be green, and this is where the zombies will spawn. Zombies are always going to spawn in the first number in a room, followed by the second and third. For example, if we spawn zombies, they're going to be done in this order, following 1, 2, and 3. Now, if, say, for example, there was a zombie here, and we had to spawn 1 zombie in this room, it would always be added to the first open spots in the room, so the number 1. Now, if 1 and 2 were full, then you would place a zombie in 3, as there's only 1 zombie in each room that can ever be. Now, once an area is full and you need to add another zombie, it would go to the next room in clockwise order or into the Courtyard, as I'll show you guys later. Now, the only way for players to use abilities is that they have to be in the room that has those abilities, and there cannot be any zombies in the store, which is the entire tile. From there, then the player can use the abilities that are outlined in the room or pick up different objectives or do different things, as you guys will see. During each game, the players are going to be going after and trying to complete 3 different objectives, and these objectives will have all kinds of different things with them, as each objective is unique. A lot of the objectives will have different tokens that the players will place out in the various stores, and they will have to go and collect them. For example, with this one, Discover a Cure, we need to find these objectives in the proper order. So we need to find an A, then a B, C, D, and so on, and the players will add those tokens in there as they complete it. And if the players are able to complete all of the different pathways on this one, then they will have completed that objective, and that'll be one of the 3 that they need to complete. Each player will select a character they like to play, and each character's card will have all the information on it that that player will need. At the beginning of the game, each player will select a character, and they'll place their health and bullet on the 0, and the bullet will go on the 9 spot, and each player will get a matching meeple of that color. Then each card is also going to list the name of that character and their special ability. So for example, with our doctor here, he has good as new. So whenever any player repairs the barricade, you may immediately heal 1 health for any player. So that's the doctor's special ability. Then it outlines each player's turn and how they do them and what steps. And then there's spots for the weapons. They have a melee weapon slot, a ranged weapon slot, and a backpack that can hold any number of backpack items. On the back of each card is the zombie version of that card as well, which will have an ability that will be active. And if there's a zombie player, you will also place one of the tokens at the bottom on the first slot, and then each time that is activated, that'll move that token up and do the effect on the card. The last set of cards we have are the search cards, which are going to be comprised of all kinds of different items and events. So each search card will have a name at the top, and an entrance symbol, which will have relevance later in the game, and I'll explain that more a little bit later. On the other side is the type of items. So we have pickup items, which are when picked up, will have to be used immediately. We have events, which also are when revealed, will be triggered and resolved. Then we have backpack items that will go into a player's backpack and can be used whenever they need them. And then finally, the 2 different types of weapons. We have melee weapons and ranged weapons, and each player can only hold 1 of each type. From there, then, in the bottom of the card is going to be an explanation of its abilities or effects that it will have on the player. Before moving into setup, the one other thing I want to mention is that I would highly recommend picking up one of these Tiny Epic zombie mats, as they really do make a big difference, especially in this game, as it will help you with all the layout and even during some of the setup, and just to keep everything nice and organized. As you guys are going to see, these really do make a big difference, and I would definitely recommend this. I love mats anyways, as you guys know. I always try to include mats and things like that in my games. I just really like them. They add a lot to the aesthetics of the game, in my opinion. So moving into setup, the first thing you're going to do is, again, choose the style game you're going to play. So I'm going to show you guys the fully cooperative mode in this one, as the rulebook itself goes into a semi-cooperative with a 1 versus many. I'm not going to cover that, but there's very little changes, and I'll explain some of those at the end of the video. So first off, you're going to place the courtyard out with the cooperative side up. And then, again, based on the difficulty of the game, you'll place a number of survivors in there. So we're going to set it at normal, so we'll put 2 in there. And then the barricade will go onto the number 2 spot. From there, then you're going to go ahead and grab the 8 store cards and shuffle them up. And then you're going to place them out. And each time you place one, you have to have the entrance on the outside perimeter. So with the mat, if you're using the mat, it actually shows an icon of where that entrance will go. So that'll really help as well, where you don't even have to think about it. You can just line it up right with that mat. So for example, like that, and then we'll go with this. And again, the stores are double-sided, so you can either choose or just randomly put them out in any manner that you want to. Then you're going to place a zombie in each one of the entrance spaces, which again are the spaces with the entrance icon on them or the number 1 spot on that space as well. You can also place out the supply tokens. There's 2 supply tokens, and the 2 spots will be numbered in them. So this one here has the number 2 in it, and the other one is down here with the number 1. You can also place the traps. There's 2 traps that will be placed next to the Amps electronics, or the other side is the TE toys. So you'll place them in that tile. From there, then you can go ahead and grab the deck of character cards, mix them up, and choose one to be the zombie card for this game. Now, if you were playing with a player that was a zombie player, then you would randomly deal them 3 cards, and they would choose one of those. So for ours, it is going to be the Mall Cop Zombie, and you can also place the rest of the zombie token or meeples next to him, as he'll be using them. Next will be player setup. Each player will be dealt 3 survivor cards, and from there then they can choose one that they'd like to play as. I'm going to go with a little bit of a theme here, so I'm going to take the scientist for one player and the doctor for the other. Once the players have that, then each player will gain a colored meeple token and a matching health marker for that. And then they'll replace the bullet in the 9 slots. Again, the health marker will go in the 0, the bullet in the 9, and then we have our 2 meeples, so we'll go ahead and place those in the courtyard. To assemble the search and supply decks, the first thing you're going to do is separate the items into their different categories. So you'll have all of the weapon cards, the melee and ranged weapons, and backpack items in one pile, and the other pile pickup items and events. You'll have 12 pickup items and events. You can take that whole pile, put it together and shuffle it, and then set it off to the side. From there, then you're going to grab the second pile of weapons and backpack items, put that all together, and shuffle that one up as well. Once it's good and shuffled, then you're going to count out 12 cards from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. The remaining cards will go into the supply deck space. The rest of these cards, the other 12 cards, will be mixed and shuffled with the previous set of cards you had of all the events and pickup items. Once that deck is completely shuffled up, then that will be your search deck. Now that you have the supply and search decks assembled, you'll place the supply deck out here and the search deck over here. You can place all the little weapons up in the weapons slot. You'll place either the motorcycle or police car in whichever parking lot requires them. So with this parking lot that we're using, it'll be the motorcycle for this game. So the police car can be returned to the box as we won't use it. And then the final thing we need to do is set up our objectives. So again, you go ahead and shuffle up the objective cards and draw out 3 objectives. So for this game, we're going to be using Fix the Helicopter. So with that one, we're going to need to place the components out in the first component slot. We'll place that up here in the number 1 slot for the gears. Then we have Investigate the Source. So with that one, you're going to mix up the 5 tokens for that and place them out in the hazmat areas. The final one will be placed on the source spot of that objective. And then the last one we have is Discover the Cure. So with that one, again, we would mix up all the tokens that we need for that and then place them out as well. The final thing we need to do is deal a search card face down to each of the players, and then select one of our players to be the starting player. So we'll have the doctor go first. Tiny Epic Zombies is played over a set number of turns, where in each turn the players are going to alternate activating a player and then the zombie player will get to go. The players are going to continue doing this until they are either able to complete the 3 different objectives that are out there, or the search deck runs out and each player has had a final turn, in which case then the zombie player will win, or if the zombie player or zombie AI is able to defeat all of the survivors in the courtyard and then reduce the barricade to 0 again. During each human player's turn, it is broken down into 2 steps that they follow in order. During the first step of a human player's turn, they must move 3 times. And each time they perform a move, they can perform a number of different actions after that. And I'm going to cover each one of these. From there, then they would move into the second step, which is that they will search the current store. So the first thing we're going to look at is movement. So with our survivor, he can move into any adjacent area as an action. So we'll move here, for example, and then he can choose a number of other actions to perform. But let's take a look at some more move actions. So once he moves into here, he has a choice. He can move from one flat wall to another adjacent flat wall. So anywhere in here, it doesn't have to have an opening or connection. So he has a choice. He can move into that room there or this room here. From there, once he's in a store, then he has to follow the pathways of the store. But for example, if he wanted to move from this store to this one, he can do that by moving through this section here. Each time after a human player moves, they can perform any or all of the following actions, which are to kill one zombie, use the room's ability and or interact with a token, and collect items. I'm going to take you through each one of these in more detail. So the first one we're going to look at are killing zombies. So let's go ahead and say that our survivor was in this room here and he chose to move into this room. So if you move into a room with a zombie, you must kill it using a melee attack. To do so, you're going to roll the melee die, and there's a number of different effects on there. So the first one is the gray zombie head, which has no additional effects. Then we have the Overkill, which you may immediately move one room for free. This is optional, and if you take this free move, you do not take any additional actions in the room you left. It is possible to have multiple overkills in a row. And then we have the health damage, where you're going to take 1 hit point of damage and then 2 hit points of damage. So once we move in, we'll roll, and we rolled an overkill. So at this point, no matter what result we got, even if we would have taken damage, the zombie is immediately killed. It is always killed with melee attacks, and it is returned back to the general supply. From there, then we would resolve the effect on the dice, or the die. So since we rolled the overkill, we could choose to move to another room immediately if we wanted to, but then we could not resolve any other actions in this room. So we're going to go ahead and choose to stop there instead. The other type of attack we have is a ranged attack. So again, let's go ahead and say that our zombie was up in this room, and our hero here chose to move into this room here. So if you move into a room that does not have a zombie, you may kill a zombie in an adjacent room using a ranged attack. To perform a ranged attack, you're simply going to reduce your bullet amount by 1 to kill the zombie. So we'll just simply remove that zombie and drop our bullet down by 1. After moving into a room and killing a zombie if necessary, and only if the store is free of zombies, which the store being defined as all 3 rooms within the mall card, you may then use the room abilities and or interact with tokens. So now that our survivor has killed the zombies and this entire store, this whole card is free of zombies, now we can interact with tokens that are on there or different icons that are in the rooms or different abilities in the rooms. So there's a number of different ones. We have the running ability, which are the little guy in the picture running, as you guys can see here in the corner. You can use this ability immediately, and then you may continue your turn. This room's ability may only be used once in a single turn, so you cannot do it again by returning to that room. Then we have stop abilities, which will have the little stop sign hand. If you use this ability, your turn is immediately over and you're going to end your turn in that room. You're still going to reveal your search card as normal, as I'll explain a little bit later. Then we have secret passages, which will allow you to move from that secret passage to any other secret passage in the mall. And the final thing are the supply areas, where you can pick up a supply token and add it to your player card. And then, like I said, some of the rooms will contain objective tokens based on the objectives that you're playing. So since our player stopped in here, the only thing that you can do in here is the objective token. So you can flip that over and resolve any effects of it. So with our objective, we did not find the A, which is the one we need, so we'll place that back face down. The last option our player has for an action is to collect items. And this, again, it can only be done if the store is free of zombies, and the store being defined by all 3 rooms on that card. You can then freely pick up any or all of the face-up search cards that are beside your current store's location. So with our current location here, this would be our search area. So if there was a card here that was face-up, then our player could choose to collect that card or any cards that are in that spot. After the human player has completed their 3 moves, then they're ready to move into the second step of their turn, which is to search their current store. They're going to do this by flipping over their face down search card that they've been given and place it in the search location of their current store. So with our doctor being in this location, then he's going to flip over his card and place it in that spot. If it is an event, then he will resolve it immediately. Now, human players can collect this card later, once this store is free of zombies, but the current player cannot collect this item on the same turn that it was revealed. And if a player is in the courtyard, you're going to place the item card in one of the 4 adjacent stores, which again are the orthogonal directions, north, east, south, and west. After each human player's turn, it will alternate into a zombie turn. With this being a fully cooperative game, the zombie turn is going to be controlled by a set of rules. So during a zombie turn, it is 3 steps. You will check for noise, and then add new zombies, and then finally deal a new search card. So let's take a look at each one of these different steps. So the first step is checking for noise. You're going to look at the search card that was revealed's noise marker with the entrance marker. If they match, then the zombie AI is going to add 2 zombies to each of the 2 stores of the matching symbols. If they do not match, then the AI zombie will simply add 1 zombie to each of the 2 stores of the matching symbol. So since our 2 match, then we would have to add 2 zombies to each of those matching stores. So when we add zombies, again, you're going to add them in order from 1 to 2 to 3 based on which areas are open. So with area 1 already having a zombie in it, then we'll have to put a zombie in area 2 and in area 3. And then we would do the same thing with the second store that matches that icon. When adding zombies, there's a couple of additional effects I'd like to go into. So first, if a zombie is ever added to the same room with an item meeple, that human is going to be overrun. They will immediately take 1 wound. So in our example here, when we place this zombie, our item meeple up here was overrun, so he's going to take 1 damage. And then on that human's next move, they must move out of that room. The other effect is bleeding out. So if a zombie must be added and there are none left in the supply, for each zombie that the zombie player is unable to add, the human player with the fewest wounds is going to take 1 damage. If the players are tied for wounds, then the player with the most bullets is going to take the wound, and if still tied, the players get to decide. And the last thing is, what happens if you need to add a zombie to a store that is already full? So when a store is completely filled with zombies, all 3 rooms, then a new zombie is going to be instead added to the next store or into the courtyard. So if the store is one of the orthogonally adjacent stores to the courtyard, then it will reduce the courtyard's barricade by 1 point per zombie that you have to add. If it is one of the corner stores, then it will go to the next store in clockwise order and then into the open space into that store. So let's go ahead and say, for example, that we had to add 1 more zombie to this store here. Since the store is full, then it would go to the courtyard and instead would reduce the barricade by 1. But let's go ahead and say, for example, that our store over here was full and we had a situation like that and we had to add a zombie. So it would go to the next store in clockwise order, which is this one, and we already have a zombie in space 1, but there is no zombie in space 2, so we would add it to this space here. The last step in the zombie AI's turn is that the active player is then going to draw a card from the search deck and place it face down on their player card. So we would take the next card from the search deck and add it to our player without revealing it. Then we would move to the next human player in clockwise order. One other rule I'd like to cover is eaten alive. So if a player's health and bullets ever land on the same space or pass over each other, that player has died. You're going to place all of their items that they have face up in the store that they died in, or if they died in the courtyard, then you're going to place them in a store that's adjacent to the courtyard of the player's choice. From there, then you would go ahead and remove a survival token. If there aren't any remaining, then the human players have lost immediately. Otherwise, you'll remove 1 token and place the player's item meeple in the courtyard. You'll go ahead and give the player's card to the zombie player or into the zombie area, as they will use the new effects for the zombies. And then the player will choose a new survivor that they will get to start over again with 0 health and 9 bullets. If this happens in the middle of the turn, that player's turn is going to immediately end, but the human player must still flip over their search card as normal, with the zombie player taking actions as normal as well. So at this point, I want to show you a couple of turns in action so you guys can see how this works. So I've gone ahead and moved our human players around a little bit just to give you guys a full effect. So our doctor player is going to be the first one to go this round. And again, you have to perform 3 move actions, and then after each move action, you can do other things. So our doctor is going to move up here and perform a melee attack against that zombie. He got a gray zombie, so nothing special as his first action, and then there's nothing else to do here. And the store is cleared now, so any other action that he does, he could benefit from. So then let's go ahead and move into this place here as his second action. We'll perform a ranged attack against that zombie there. And now that all of the zombies have been eliminated, he can also reveal this token here, which is a C, which is not what we need first. We need an A for our first symbol. So then his last action, he's going to go jump up here and take a look at this icon up here and see what this one is. So we have the toxic fungus as our first icon. So that is his third action. So then he's going to move into the last part of his turn. He's going to reveal his card in this location. And then it would move into the zombie player's, or the zombie AI's turn. So first off, it will check for noise, which the symbols do not match. So then we're simply going to add one zombie into each of those locations. So we'd add one here, and one will go into here. Then our player would draw the next card of the search deck, and it would move into our next player's turn as our zombie turn is now over. So now with our player turn over here, let's go ahead and move her here for her first action. She'll spend a bullet to kill the zombie that's adjacent. And then she can go ahead and do some other actions that she has in there. We have a token in there, so let's see what it is. So we have an A, so it actually will go into this first space up here that we found. Now we're going to be looking for a B. So then her second action, she'll go ahead and move up here and collect this stored supply token. So she'll place it in her supply. And her third action, let's go ahead and move her into this store here. So again, she's going to go ahead and perform a melee. She got an overkill. So she's going to go ahead and do a free move into there and attack again. And got another overkill, so then she's going to move into here. And there is no zombie to kill, but she can go ahead and check this. So we've got another A, so not what we're looking for there. Then we're going to go ahead and move into her part of her turn. So she found an event. So she has to resolve that immediately. So this is going to place one additional zombie into this store, and then you're going to discard this card. So we'll place a zombie there, and then we would resolve the zombie's turn by checking the noise symbol again, which does not match our store. So then this can be discarded, and we'll add one zombie to those two locations. And then finally, she'll draw another search card, and we would move back to our next player's turn. And like I said, this will continue until either our players are able to complete their objectives, or until the search deck runs out and the barricade reaches 0 with no survivors left in there. At either point, then that will trigger the end of the game for the human players as a loss, or if the human players are able to complete their objectives before then they have won. Well, I hope you guys found that video helpful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and I try to take into account everything you guys say to make the best possible videos. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Let me know what you guys are playing or doing. Also, if you have any questions, you can drop them there and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you like these videos, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channels. It will help me to continue to grow and bring these games to you guys. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.